The simple definition of Gothic architecture is basically there was a style of architecture from the late Middle Ages. Gothic architecture was really composed of these massive spaces, high ceilings, high roofs. They were very monumental type of spaces. Back in the day, they were coming out of the era of big castles and honoring their leader. So the Gothic architecture, was trying to replicate some of those styles and trying to be able to honor not only their leadership, but also honoring their God. And to reach up for the heavens was what this Gothic style of architecture was driven by. It's really interesting to be able to see what came out of that. It was really an interesting time, and you can tell that there was a lot of work that went into it. There really are so many examples of Gothic architecture out there that are just quite magnificent. I'm just going to mention a few. I think that the one that has made the news lately a lot has been Notre-Dame. Notre-Dame is a facility that was made famous, of course, by the movie and play, The Hunchback of Notre-Dame. But really, when you go see this space, it is a space, building that had not only those high spaces and monumental interiors, but also it was decorated on the outside with gargoyles and ornamentation that made that building very, very special. Also the engineering part of it was one of the things that made it stand out, like with its flying buttresses and its columns and its beams from the inside. It was a place that is truly historic and should be preserved for its beauty. And hopefully it can withstand the times and the desire of many people that want to change the magnificent style of architecture. Another example that I have, which to me is very close to my heart, is the architecture throughout the University of Washington, where I went to school. That university was modeled after the World's Fair, and that the World's Fair designed all these buildings in the Gothic style of architecture. One building in particular that I would recommend for everybody to go see is Suzala Library. Suzala Library has been really, people think that that's where Hogwarts was filmed, and for any fans of Harry Potter, you remember those buildings where they filmed the movie with its high ceilings and its monumental architecture. Well, there's a building in the middle of campus which is designed in a Gothic style of architecture, and truly when you walk in, this space is just magnificent. I've been there many times, and not only while I was at school, but events there as well, and every time I go by it, I'm in awe by this space that's created on the inside. I think that back when Gothic architecture was created, it was created with different purposes in mind. Of course, there were different materials and different reasons for designing these types of buildings, like these high ceilings and high monumental spaces really had its purpose in trying to honor the heavens, and really that was the message that we're trying to receive. There really wasn't much more going on back then, any other distractions like we have today, and by that I mean, aviation, sports, events like galas and stuff like that. They did not have those activities that were influential in the styles of architecture. One of the things that was very influential was religion back then, and that was one of the biggest things. And to be able to honor and worship their deity was through the design of buildings. And that is how it came about. This day and age, we don't design that way. I think that we're a little more conservative, a little more efficient. Our reasons for design are very different for our styles. So that is part of the reason that Gothic architecture really is something of the past and historic in nature, really.